We've talked plenty about Arizona football and the offseason momentum they're creating, but what's it like on the inside? We'll talk with Arizona football team reporter Kim Becker. Let's go.
Locked On Pac-12, your daily podcast on the Pac-12 Conference. It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On Pac-12. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin, D1 play-by-play broadcaster. Thanks for making this your first listen or your first view if you're watching on YouTube every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. This right here is your number one source to stay up to date with the Conference of Champions every weekday, which is why you should like and subscribe wherever you're listening to or watching this show. And I'm joined for the first time today by the team reporter for the Arizona Wildcats to give us an insider look at the program, Kim Becker. Welcome to Locked On Pac-12.
Hey, Spencer, how you doing? Thanks so much for having me.
It is great to have you here because, you know, I can talk about programs and teams and thoughts from afar, but you're down there on the inside, talking to players, talking to coaches on the ground, doing hard-nosed, big J journalism, as they say, and such.
Always.
But let's start with spring football as a whole. You've been there covering the team. I'm sure you were at the spring game, and you've been at practice and watching how everything has gone. After you took in the spring game, and I hope you got doused with a water gun down there in the desert.
Had to. It was a beautiful day. It was, in the 80s. It was hot. I was in black because, we were playing red versus blue, and whichever team won got a very nice steak dinner. And I was like, I'm going to wear black so I can be neutral. So no matter who wins, I get the good food here. So yeah, had a water gun in hand pretty much the whole duration of the game.
That's my kind of spring game personally, but a good amount of actual football did indeed take place. So, after watching spring practice and then watching the game itself, what were your biggest takeaways from spring football here in year 3, I believe it is, under Jedd Fisch?
Yeah, so this is actually just year 2 under Jedd Fisch. So we've got 1 year under our belt last season, and then this is the second season now. So kind of really the first year that he's having his new players in, right? His guys that he recruited in. So that's really exciting. But really just the main takeaways is that we are trying to improve on both sides of the ball, right? We've got new players that are coming in to really compete for those starting positions on both sides of the ball, whether they're transfers or freshmen. So we're just really excited to see that improvement and see how the chemistry kind of reacts and bonds together here. But that was my biggest takeaway really from the entire duration of spring ball, both practices and the game, was how much the energy is really acting as that contagion around the entire team, because you see these guys coming in who have had a little bit of experience maybe as the transfers, or the freshmen who are hungry and who are ready to compete for that spot. And it's really just creating this competitiveness around the guys and some really good, awesome energy. And so it's making us very excited.
Yeah, I think the reason that my mind jumped to 3 is because the losing streak that thankfully for Arizona ended this past season was carried over from the previous year, and it's time is a social construct, and we're all just blurring it together and whatnot. But schematically though, watching the football on the field this year, and this the first kind of full spring game with Jedd Fisch and starting to get his recruits in there, and there have been some recruiting successes, which we will talk about today because there have been quite a few. But what do you notice that's most different from the previous coaching administration that's kind of changed, where you see Coach Fisch really starting to implement his vision for how Arizona football looks on the field?
Yeah, so I was not a part of the previous coaching staff, so I wasn't able to see them firsthand. But what I have seen firsthand from this new staff and under Jedd Fisch's regime here is just the culture change, the positivity, the eagerness and the hunger out of the entire staff, out of the players that come in underneath them and the players that are being coached by them, and just kind of the overall mood of the office and of the front of the staff and, up here in the facility is just everyone's always really motivated and really positive and really excited. And I think that that's what maybe the players who were under the previous coaching staff program were lacking, and I think that's what they're really excited about. I know the several players that I have spoken to, the seniors now, the fifth-year guys now that have been through 3 different coaching staffs in their career, some 4. I know there were some of our linebackers or some of our defensive guys last year who said they'd had like 4 defensive coordinators in their entire college career, which is so hard, right? Because you want that consistency in a coaching staff to create that success. I mean, you're not going to have instant overnight success in any college football program. It doesn't matter who you are that comes in and does that. You have to build something. You have to create a foundation that's built off of positivity and off of something that people really believe in. And I think that that's what Jedd Fisch has come in here and done. And he's got a fantastic staff that he's brought in with him. He's created this media department. He's created this room that I'm sitting in right now to really show off the program and show off what we are doing in a very genuine, raw, authentic way. And I think that's something that these players were like, whoa, they were lacking so much of that. You know, they were lacking the support and the confidence in them from their coaching staff and from the guys that, you know, they were working underneath for so long. And so now I think it's really exciting that all of this positivity and just the exposure that this program has gotten and the work that's being done inside these 4 walls. I mean, this coaching staff is incredible. Their work ethic is unmatched. And I think that that's something that's going to really create a bang. I know it already has, and it's going to create that momentum going forward.
Nothing says you want to put the program out there quite like a big giant A sitting right behind you, right? gotta work on your weather person skills.
Where is it? Yeah, good thing I'm not a weather person. My goodness.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough job. It took me a while here, you know, when I would reference my Twitter handle, which for those of you who don't know is @smalls_55. I had to get used to looking down right there so that it looked natural. But when I first 3 or 4 times I did it, I'm looking right down there, and that's not right. So Arizona does have this sort of newfound sense of optimism with Jedd Fisch there because of the recruiting successes he's had in the early going. Brings in a top 20 high school recruiting class when you factor in transfer portal to get an overall composite rating. The class of 2022. The ranking falls, but it's still in the top 30, which considering where Arizona has been in the last couple of seasons is a pretty outstanding place to be. So how do you think that this staff is getting those sorts of off-season victories and creating a vibe of positivity after a 1-11 season? How do you accomplish that?
You know, I think the recruiting class, having the top recruiting class in the Pac-12, and I mean, I guess before that, yes, that's a selling point right there. I think what the biggest selling point was for those guys before they came in, right when they were out recruiting them, was just the family-like atmosphere that we're showing here and the personability that Coach Fisch has. And a lot of the guys that came in, you know, I would ask them straight up, a lot of these freshmen that came in and some of the transfers, was like, what was it about Arizona that you wanted to come here for? What was it that really drew you into this program? And they all said that family-like feeling. I think they really felt like they were going to be a part of something really special. And I think that spoke very highly to them, and that attracted them to the program because they saw how much work was being put inside of the facility. I mean, when you come into this facility and you walk around, I know so many people who have been here before are like, oh my goodness, this building looks so much different. It looks so awesome. They've renovated, you know, the players' lounge, all of our offices. We have this room, like I said, they're tearing up the turf right now and we're getting new turf put in our stadium. It's just kind of getting a whole facelift. And I think that the guys saw that from, you know, that standpoint, the physicality standpoint of the actual facility. And then they wanted to be a part of the actual program that's going to create this history. And I think the coaching staff were so incredible coming off of a 1-11 season because they knew that this wasn't, like I said, going to be an overnight success. They knew a lot of work had to be put into that, and they knew how much work they put in last year, and now how many months ahead of them before the season starts again, and how many days of opportunities that they can keep creating this foundation and keep creating something. So, you know, I think Coach Fisch says, you know, this is really the year where we get to start to see the guys that he brought in, and the coaches have now had a year under their belt of coaching together and really understanding what they want to do moving forward. And I think that was just kind of the main draw, was they really wanted to be a part of something special. And that's what's going on here really inside these 4 walls.
It's definitely been a big time rebuild and still is, right? It's not like they've totally arrived, or that, you know, they're going to turn around and be a contender in the Pac-12 South, which doesn't actually matter anymore. But, you know, that's a little bit of a different conversation we'll be discussing here on the show. But when you look at the totality of what it takes to rebuild a college football program to get it back to a level where, you know, Arizona's been to a Pac-12 championship game, and they were in the Fiesta Bowl in, I believe it was 2014, if memory serves. If you want to get back to that level, you have to complete a number of steps, and step 1 appears to be complete. It's a, you know, 12, 13, maybe 18-step plan per se, but you can't complete those if you don't complete the first one. I want to ask you about some of those players that are new to campus, including Washington State transfer quarterback Jayden de Laura. But first, I remind you all this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible, absolutely impossible for your local chain auto parts store to have all the parts that you need. You can just save time and money and do it all from your computer by using Rock Auto, a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck, right? Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices. All the parts your car will ever need, rockauto.com. All right, Kim, so you've had the opportunity to talk to a bunch of Arizona players, I presume. And, I was kind of pilfering through, figuring out, who'd be the most interesting. Jayden de Laura, of course, is number one on the list. The other ones, I had to do some picking and choosing, and we'll get to TMac a little bit later. Yeah. But Jayden de Laura made a big time headlines, I should say, when he transferred after being the freshman of the year at Washington State. Now he comes down to Arizona as the presumptive starter, and I just didn't see it coming at all after such a successful season. But they brought in a new offensive coordinator who brought Incarnate Ward transfer Cameron Ward with him at the quarterback position. So I'm not going to say that particular phrase. I was going to say one man's trash is another man's treasure, but it's more like one man's treasure is another man's
treasure.
He's another man's treasure.
He is a treasure. I will say that.
Washington State had a gem up there, and they're okay with him going. It's just strange. You just don't see that at the quarterback position. You maybe see it from a wide receiver, a running back who pops and wants to go to a bigger school, a different conference or something, but an intra-conference move that is now going to help Arizona stabilize a position that was a revolving door really the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. So what's it been like getting to know Jayden de Laura, and what did he say when you asked him about, what was it about coming down to Arizona, a team that is rebuilding compared to what he just left at Washington State?
It's so funny that you say it's strange that he came here and that position wanted to move and wanted to come here to Arizona, because to me, it's not strange at all. I'm like, what do you mean it's strange? But this place is awesome. But it's so funny that because I do realize maybe that is the outside perspective is that, whoa, that was such a strange move. But to us, I remember the first day I saw him walking around the halls when he was here visiting, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Jayden de Laura. And I was like, oh, cool. He's thinking about Arizona. And literally the next thing I knew was oh yeah, he's signed, he's here, he's committed. And we were like, what? This is awesome. But it wasn't strange. It was just heck yeah. Okay, he sees it. He sees what we see on the inside now that he's been on the inside of the building, and he's really had those personal connections with the coaches, and he's been able to walk around, see what we're doing, meet some of us, meet some of his new teammates. And so it wasn't strange to us at all. It was just yeah, okay, finally, not finally, but okay, cool. This guy sees it too. So that was really exciting. He is so funny. When I first met him, I remember I was like, Jayden, come in here and do an interview with me, because my job is so cool. And I know I have such a great opportunity being on the inside and being able to have the access that I do to these coaches and to these players. I've got their phone numbers. I see them. They come in and say hi to me all the time. They're like my little brothers, and that's so cool. And I know I'm so lucky in that sense. So I remember seeing Jayden in the hall, and I was like, you want to come in here and do an interview? And he was like, I don't know, I haven't really done that a whole lot. I'm not really great on camera. And I was like, oh no, it's fun. Just come in and do it. We sat down, we had the time of our life. He made little jabs at me. I made jabs back. It was so fun. And then literally I've seen him in the hallways since then. He's it just opened up this whatever was inside of Jayden de Laura. And you see just the light that shines off of him and how much fun he has and how funny he is. He's gotten to be such good friends with a lot of his teammates here. He told me that the quarterback room, they all have their little inside jokes and they just have so much fun. There's no, hard feelings in there. They understand they're all competing for that number one spot, but he just said the chemistry in there is so funny. Gunnar Cruz, who is another quarterback here, and actually he transferred from Washington State last year when Jayden de Laura got to Washington State. Gunnar Cruz transferred here, and then Jayden transferred here, and I think we were oh man, I wonder if that's going to create anything. They're best friends. I rode around on a golf cart with Jayden de Laura a few days ago, and I was answering questions from fans, or I guess the players answer questions from fans. I had asked them to send in questions, and one of the questions was, who would you want to be in a zombie apocalypse with? Choose 3 teammates, and he chose Gunnar Cruz, and I was like, oh my gosh, really, Gunnar Cruz? And he's like, yeah, Gunnar's my best friend. And he was like, if anything bad were to ever happen to me, I just want to be with Gunnar because he makes me laugh. And I was just like, oh my goodness. So just to be able to see that side where, from the outside, everyone's probably ooh, Jayden came in and he's following Gunnar, Gunnar went there. Now Jayden's going there. it's not like that at all. Like they just have such good chemistry as friends and as teammates, and they know that they're all there to get a job done, and they all want the same end goal. They're all competing for the same thing, and that's wins. And so that's been so cool. And to see that side of Jayden was really awesome. When I asked him why he wanted to come here to Arizona, Jedd Fisch and his coaching staff was the number one reason, right? He said, it feels special. It feels like family. There's a comforting aspect to the building and to the program when you walk in. And then he also noted the city of Tucson. He was like, I drive through Tucson, it almost looks like home. And he's from Hawaii, right? So it's like he sees the beauty of the weather here, the beauty of the scenery around the whole city, the comforting factor of Tucson itself. It's really a hidden gem. And I don't want to say that out loud because we don't want a lot of people moving here, but we want the football players here, that's for sure. No, it's a really awesome time. I mean, I've only been here for 10 months and I love it. It feels like a second home to me, and it feels just really special. The weather, you can't beat it. It's beautiful. So I think that was something that Jayden noticed as well. And those are the two main things that I've heard from a lot of these new guys, the transfers and the freshmen, is the family-like feeling that they got when they walked into this building, and then just the city of Tucson itself.
Yeah, I was actually in Scottsdale visiting a friend and his family recently, and he's a big college football fan. He actually went to ASU. Don't hate him, good guy. Don't worry, he's cool. He's cool.
Okay, if you say so.
He's all right though. But we were just talking about the struggles of the recruiting trail for Arizona State, and then also how Arizona's fallen down a little bit. And we were both arriving at the same conclusion: like, there is no reason you can't recruit at a really high level here. I mean, we're walking around. It's the same way. We were there for 4 days. It's the same weather every day. We're playing golf 4 days in a row. It's 82 degrees, barely a breeze, blue skies every day. You don't get that in Corvallis, Eugene, Pullman, Seattle. It's not there. So I think that, the recruiting success that he's had, Jedd Fisch, that is something that can very easily carry over and continue to be strong classes, because Arizona's got a decent talent pool as a state when you're talking about high school kids who are coming out and have a bevy of offers, right? Oftentimes other schools like in Oregon or even a Texas, Oklahoma, like schools in other conferences will come and try and poach kids from the state of Arizona. But there's some good talent there, and the recruiting pitch, I think it's pretty darn solid. As someone who's from the Pacific Northwest, I got my Timber shirt on today. It's not quite as appealing all the time. One of those big time recruits that Jedd Fisch was able to land over Oregon was TMac, as he has become known, and I would rather refer to him as TMac than just absolutely butchering his first name. And I want to ask you about his decision to come to Oregon. After I remind you all, our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. You can find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, go Mariners, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, we keep rolling here with Kim Becker, the team reporter for the University of Arizona, covering football specifically. Do you do basketball as well, or are you just all there for football?
I'm all here for football. Yep. Jedd Fisch is the guy that hired me. And
awesome.
Much as I came in and I was like, I wonder what I'm going to do in the off season. Trust me, there is no off season in college football. And I learned that very quickly.
Yeah. That word is a myth. There is no such thing. The entire time that I've been hosting shows here at Locked On, I've had one football game to coach. Yeah. Just the one. Like, there's endless amounts of things to talk about. And one thing that I wanted to ask you about was TMac, who was a recruit that Oregon was looking at, looked like they had a decent chance at. But I think when you look at the seasons Oregon's been having and their success on the recruiting trail, and you look at what Arizona's been doing, and then you think about that the Wildcats went head-to-head with the Ducks. He was down in the final two, and he ends up choosing Arizona. I think that was the first time a lot of Pac-12 fans looked and said, hey, what's Jedd Fisch doing over there? Like, that doesn't happen. Like 2 years ago, that's not something that it takes place, but it's been that sort of upward trajectory on the recruiting trail. So you can correct me. I'm not even going to try with his first name, because I know you'll just say it. But what has TMac said about why he decided to come to Arizona when he had Oregon interested in him heavily, and that's kind of been the premier program here in the conference the last few years.
Yes, so TMac Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver from Servite High School down in Anaheim in Orange County. You know, TMac is so funny also. Another kid where he came in, he was pretty quiet, wasn't sure if we'd really be able to peel back that layer. And then I took him around the golf cart the other day. We post these segments on our Twitter and on our YouTube page at Arizona Football, at Arizona F-Ball on Twitter. And it's called Cart Rides with Kim. And I take players around campus in a golf cart and ask them questions that fans DM'd me on Twitter. And it's so fun because it puts them in a setting where they don't have a bunch of cameras in their face. We're just doing it on my phone on a little, like dashboard holder. And they really get to be themselves. And that's been my favorite thing to do here is see these guys really be themselves and then be able to show you guys that as fans out in Twitter and in the digital space. But TMac is so funny. And he said the same thing. It's the family-like feeling that he got when he came here on his visits. His best friend of a long time and teammate quarterback Noah Fafita, who also came in here and who has been committed and had signed with Arizona for a really long time. He'd been committed for a while, and I know that he had a lot of sway in it. Noah's mom, she has a Twitter, and she also had some sway. She was always taking opportunities to be like, go join your brother, go join your teammate, go join your buddy. So shout out to her, Mrs. Fafita. I'm sure that she helped with it as well. But no, I think there really is just something special about this place. And when you come here and you see how much work is being put in, how dedicated they are to the cause, how dedicated they are to the end goal. You see all of the different coaches that we have in their backgrounds, right? Brennan Carroll, who is Pete Carroll's son. He is our offensive coordinator and our offensive line coach. He is just a ball of energy. He has a huge personality. He's walking around the halls. He's got music blaring from his office and he's saying hi to everybody. He just loves the game. He loves football. He loves his guys. So that's something really special. Jimmy Doherty is our quarterbacks coach and he has so much experience. And of course, Jedd Fisch coming from all the different NFL teams that he's been with. And that's something really special too, right? They really show they want to create NFL players. They want to make sure that all of the guys that come through these doors are able to have every single opportunity they can in the next 3, 4, 5 years so that they can make it to the next level. And that's really the end goal. And they run a very NFL pro style offense here. And I think that that's something that Jayden de Laura said, whoa, this is a very different offense from Washington State. And he worked so hard to learn it. And he was like, it makes sense. I get it. I click with it. And I think that's something really special. And I'm sure TMac wanted to be a part of that as well. But having, TMac, his two buddies and teammates and Kean Burnett, a tight end freshman that got here as well from Servite, and then Noah Fafita, the quarterback. I think that was something that they were like, well, let's go see what we can do, the three of us together at the next level. So I think that's going to be a really cool combination to look out for. But, yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know. Again, it's so funny being on the inside now that I have been for a while and through last season and the off season, because it doesn't seem weird that they want to come here to me. It really doesn't.
Yeah, right.
It seems, I mean, it's like, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, why wouldn't you? That's kind
yeah,
of how
yeah,
I
of
feel.
course. Yeah.
So it's hard to try and convince people otherwise because I see it and I'm a part of it every day. But I'm really excited to see what these guys do in the fall. And I know we're going to have several more guys come who have committed, who are really excited. It's so fun being here as a team reporter and being on Twitter and being friends with some of their parents. And, they're reaching out and they're like, we love what you're doing. We're able to see the inside. We're able to see these guys, my guys that are coming, my son that's coming in June wants to be there now in January. He doesn't want to finish high school. He just wants to be there. So hearing that from the parents, and these are kids, who are on the East Coast who have committed, kids down in Florida, right? We have Speedy Luke who's come in, who is an awesome player who we're so excited to have here, running back. And so and his dad's always on Twitter liking stuff and interacting. And so that's really fun to see. So we're just really creating a family here, and it's really fun. And it's very apparent that a lot of people want to be a part of it.
Yeah, one thing that a lot of fans have questions about, and I think is fairly reasonable when a coach comes from the NFL back to college, right? Whether it's a head coach or a position coach, is, well, how's he going to recruit, right? Because recruiting is 75% of the battle in college football. In at the college level, it's more about the Jimmies and the Joes than the X's and the O's and such. Whereas at the next level, it tends to even out a little bit more, and it's kind of all about scheme. But I think that's one appeal that Jedd Fisch has that other coaches do not, is he's been at the NFL level, so he knows, hey, this is how NFL guys do it, and if you want to get to that level, I know what it takes to get you there. I know what these players look like. I know the scheme, like that. That's part of the recruiting pitch that is there. Now it's still, I'm sure a little bit of an adjustment for him as, going out and actually hitting the recruiting trail is different than talking about how you're going to talk to recruits in the abstract and such. But the early returns, as we've been saying, have been really, really good. The last thing I want to ask you here is looking at the 2022 season, right? Off-season success is one thing. In-season success is another. As you think about, where this team is at, you're on the inside, as you've been mentioning. You've seen all the practices and, you know the players and all that sort of stuff, and the mood around the program is obviously very positive. What do you think a successful Arizona football season looks like in 2022, where afterwards you look back and say, okay, yeah, this was another step in the right direction. Like I was talking about earlier, right? Step one, start to turn the recruiting around. All right, that is moving along. But step maybe 3 or 4 or such is you have to win a handful of games. And
Sure.
in your view, from what you've seen down there in Tucson, what does success look like this fall for Jedd Fisch and company?
Yeah, just speaking on Jedd Fisch and the recruiting, like you said, that was the first step. He came from the NFL directly, but he also has a ton of experience in college coaching as well. He spent time at Miami, at UCLA, at Michigan, so he really knows both sides, both collegiate and professional level, and what is needed through there. And I think you're right on the first step was definitely recruiting. Number 1 recruiting class in the Pac-12. 17th in the nation. I mean, the proof's in the pudding right there, right? Those words speak for themselves. So that was huge. I think the second step is just making sure that all of the players really understand the playbooks. They understand what their coaches are asking of them. They are getting their mind right. That's what this off season is for also, when spring ball is over, when workouts are done, and they're right now it's just getting their mind right. What do you want? Like, how hard do you want it? Do you want it more than the next guy? I know that that's probably step number 2 is just making sure that they're all ready to go mentally when they all get back here June 1st for workouts, and then they have July off, and they'll come back for training camp. So that's probably step 2. And then I think step 3, when it comes to the season, it's, are you better than you were yesterday? I know that every day that we go out there for practice, Coach Fisch is like, okay, were we better than yesterday? Because that's what we're doing here. Like, are you putting in the work that you need to do to get better than yesterday? So I think step 2 overall, step 3 overall, I suppose, is, are we going to be better than last year? So improving on both sides of the ball. I know one thing that Coach has really been kind of focused in on is taking the ball away. There were not enough takeaways last year. When you look at our stats, it was just a handful of takeaways that we had in the entire season. And he said, you can't win ball games if you don't take the ball away. And that's kind of a fact right there. So I know that's a big thing. It's hard to tell obviously right now because we're just playing each other, so it's hard to say, okay, the defense was really awesome, the offense was really awesome while we're playing each other. So we won't really get to see that until September 3rd, our first game of the season, on how we are on taking the ball away from other teams. But I know that that's been a huge focus, and bringing Johnny Nansen in here as our new defensive coordinator and having a couple new guys on our defensive staff, that's something that they want to attack the ball and take it away. And that's something that they've really, really been honing in on. And so I think that's going to be honestly one of those big steps through step 3 or 4, because you look at stats even in the NFL, look at teams that took the ball away. They were up there, right? They're up there in the top 10 teams in the NFL. You look at college, of course, they're taking the ball away. They're winning games. So you can't score unless you have the ball, right? We all know that. And so I think that's really the number 1 goal. And a successful season looks like us doing that and just having better stats on both sides of the ball, just improving on both sides of the ball. Like we said before, this is a process. We are just building the foundation here. So I can't go out and tell you, what our record's going to be, what we're expecting it to be, what we want it to be. We just want to improve on both sides of the ball. So it looks like we're definitely making those steps forward. And I can tell you right now, we're definitely making progress, and we are taking those steps forward. So it's really exciting to see where it goes from here.
It's all about the process, and that's certainly what Jedd Fisch had to know when he took the head coaching job down there, and where it was at after the previous administration. But things are certainly trending up, and it was a lot of fun to have Kim Becker, the team reporter for Arizona football, here on Locked On Pac-12, her inaugural appearance. But I can assure you, everybody, if you enjoyed her, then it won't be the last. Thanks, Kim.
Thanks so much.
I appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time, and have a wonderful rest of your day.